Let me start with a question that might make you uncomfortable. What if the life you want is already available to you, but you're simply not the person yet who can receive it? Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances, but very few ever decide to change themselves. And here is a truth I need you to hear today. Your income will rarely exceed your level of personal development. We've been taught a dangerous belief. We've been taught to invest in clothes, in phones, in weddings, in status, and in showing people we're successful. Before we ever become successful, people will spend money on entertainment, but call education expensive. They will buy a new mobile every year, but not one book in 5 years. Let me give you a hook. The most expensive thing you will ever buy in your life is ignorance, because ignorance charges interest daily. Let me challenge a belief you've probably carried your entire life working harder does not guarantee you will earn more. If effort alone created wealth, the people doing the most physical labor in the world would be the richest people on earth. But we know that's not true. Two individuals can work the same number of hours every day, yet their incomes can be completely different. One struggles to survive while the other prospers. The difference is not effort. The difference is value. The marketplace does not reward sweat, it rewards solutions. You are not paid according to how tired you are at the end of the day. You are paid according to how useful you were to other people. Here is a hook to think about. A person who digs a hole for 8 hours earns a wage, but a person who knows where to dig for 8 minutes can earn a fortune. Knowledge multiplies effort. Skill magnifies time, and value attracts income. Most people wake up and ask, what job can I find? But successful people ask a different question. What problem can I solve? Money moves towards solutions. Businesses exist because problems exist. The more significant the problem you can solve, the greater the reward the market offers you. A person who can repair a simple tool gets paid a little. A person who can repair a complex system gets paid a lot. A person who can help thousands of people solve an important problem gets paid exponentially more. Think about this carefully. You can increase your working hours only a little, but you can increase your value infinitely. There are only 24 hours in a day, so you cannot multiply time, but you can multiply your usefulness. When you learn communication, people listen. When you learn sales, people buy. When you learn leadership, people follow. And when people listen, buy, and follow, income naturally increases. Here is another hook. The market does not care about your intentions. It responds to your competence. Wanting success does not create success. Being valuable does. This is why a highly skilled individual can work fewer hours and earn more money than someone who works constantly without developing expertise. Skill compresses time and expands results. One conversation from a skilled communicator can produce more income than months of unskilled labor. You must begin to see yourself as a provider of value rather than a seeker of opportunity. Opportunity is attracted to capability. When you become better at solving problems, people begin to look for you. They trust you, recommend you, and compensate you. Your reputation becomes an asset, and your skills become a magnet for income. So the real work is not merely physical work. It is personal development. Every hour you spend learning a useful skill increases your future earning ability. Every book you read, every lesson you practice, and every improvement you make compounds over time. At first, the results may appear small, but value grows quietly before it grows visibly. One day you realize people are no longer paying you for your time, they are paying you for your expertise. The moment you understand this principle, your focus changes. Instead of asking for a raise, you begin becoming the kind of person a raise cannot ignore. Instead of waiting for opportunity, you prepare for it. Because when your value rises high enough, income is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that comes looking for you. There is a hidden cost in life that many people never calculate, and it silently shapes their future every single day. It is not the price of education, not the cost of books, and not the fee for a course. It is the cost of not knowing. Ignorance does not arrive as a bill you can see, yet it charges you continuously through missed opportunities, poor decisions, and limited income. Here is a hook to consider. What you do not know today may already be costing you more than what you are afraid to invest. People often say learning is expensive, but they rarely measure the price of staying the same. A single skill can open doors that effort alone cannot unlock. Without knowledge, a person repeats the same mistakes again and again, believing circumstances are the problem, while the real problem is information. The marketplace rewards understanding. When you understand how money works, you manage it differently. When you understand people, you communicate differently. When you understand opportunity, you recognize it while others overlook it. Imagine two individuals starting at the same point in life. One decides to spend time learning, reading, and developing practical abilities, while the other delays growth and chooses comfort. At first, their lives look similar. Months pass and little difference appears. But time magnifies knowledge. Gradually, one begins to make wiser decisions, avoids costly errors, and gains access to better opportunities. The other works harder but remains in the same place. The separation was not caused by luck. It was created by learning. Here is another hook. Ignorance is not just the absence of information. It is the presence of limitation. It restricts how you think, how you act, and how far you can go. Many people do not lack motivation. They lack understanding. They try repeatedly, but produce the same results because they are operating with the same knowledge. Change in results requires change in awareness. Once you learn a better method, you no longer depend only on effort. Knowledge saves time. A person who does not understand a process may spend years discovering what proper guidance could teach in weeks. Mentorship, books, and education accelerate progress because they allow you to learn from experience without suffering every consequence yourself. One lesson learned at the right moment can prevent years of struggle. One idea applied consistently can transform your direction entirely. The challenge is that ignorance feels comfortable. Learning requires humility, patience, and discipline. It asks you to admit there are things you do not yet understand, but comfort has a price. The moment you stop learning, growth stops. And when growth stops, opportunities slowly move elsewhere. The world constantly changes, and only those who continue to improve remain relevant. Consider this hook carefully. You will either pay the price of education now or the price of regret later. The first is temporary. The second can last a lifetime. Every hour invested in learning expands your possibilities. Every concept understood strengthens your decision making. Every skill acquired increases your independence. Over time, knowledge compounds just like interest. Small lessons accumulate into significant advantages. When you choose to learn consistently, you begin to notice opportunities others cannot see. Problems appear as possibilities rather than obstacles. Conversations become clearer, decisions become wiser, and confidence becomes stronger because understanding replaces uncertainty. Your value increases not by chance, but by preparation. The individual who invests in learning positions themselves differently in every environment because knowledge shapes perception, and perception guides action. Many people believe freedom comes from a job title, a salary increase, or a favorable situation. But freedom actually comes from capability. A position can be taken away, a company can close, and an economy can change, yet a skill remains with you wherever you go. Here is a hook to consider. The most secure thing you can ever own is not a paycheck. It is your ability to produce one. A job allows you to earn, but a skill allows you to create. When you rely only on employment, your income depends on someone else's decision. When you possess a valuable ability, your income depends on your own initiative. The marketplace constantly seeks individuals who can solve problems, communicate effectively, and produce results. These abilities are portable. They travel with you across cities, industries, and circumstances. Skills give you options, and options give you freedom. Think about the difference between being needed and being replaceable. An individual who performs only routine tasks can easily be substituted, but an individual who brings expertise becomes difficult to ignore. Here is another hook: people do not pay for your presence. They pay for your competence. When you know how to persuade, organize, design, teach, repair, analyze, or lead, you are no longer limited to one opportunity. You can adapt, you can negotiate, you can choose. Skills also change how you view challenges. Without skill, a problem feels like a barrier. With skill, a problem becomes an invitation. Every business, organization, and community has issues they cannot solve alone. The person who can provide a solution becomes valuable instantly. This is why two individuals can stand in the same place but see different realities. One sees difficulty while the other sees possibility. The difference is preparation. Another important truth is that skills create confidence. Confidence does not come from motivation alone. It comes from competence. When you know you can deliver results, you speak differently, you act decisively, and people respond to you with trust. Trust opens doors. Opportunities are often given not to the most hopeful person, but to the most capable one. Preparation creates credibility, and credibility attracts responsibility and reward. Here is a hook worth remembering: the more problems you can solve, the fewer problems you will personally have. As your abilities grow, your dependence decreases. You are no longer forced to accept every condition because you know you can contribute value elsewhere. Instead of waiting for permission, you begin creating possibilities. You can start projects, assist others, offer services, or develop ideas that produce income and impact. Skills also multiply over time. When you learn communication, it improves your relationships. When you learn organization, it improves your productivity. When you learn financial understanding, it improves your stability. Each new ability strengthens another, forming a network of competence that supports your progress. Eventually, your results no longer depend on favorable circumstances, but on developed capacity. Freedom is not the absence of work. It is the presence of choice. Choice appears when you become useful in many situations. The individual who continuously learns remains adaptable even in uncertainty. Industries evolve, technology advances, and conditions shift. But a person committed to skill development moves with change rather than being harmed by it. Capability provides resilience, and resilience sustains progress. Over time, people recognize your reliability, and reliability becomes an asset that generates opportunities, partnerships, and consistent income wherever you apply your abilities. Many people attempt to improve their financial situation by changing their job, their environment, or their routine, yet they overlook the one factor that influences every result they experience: their thinking. External circumstances matter, but internal perspective directs behavior. Here is a hook to consider before money ever reaches your hands, it passes through your mind. The way you think determines the way you act, and the way you act determines what you earn. Your financial life is not shaped only by opportunity, it is shaped by interpretation. Two individuals can receive the same chance, yet one advances and the other hesitates. One sees possibility while the other sees risk. The difference is mindset. A person who believes growth is achievable searches for solutions. A person who believes limitation is permanent searches for excuses. Thoughts guide decisions, and decisions produce outcomes. Consider how beliefs influence action. If someone thinks learning a new skill is difficult, they delay starting. If they think improvement is possible, they begin immediately. The external task remains identical, but the internal response changes behavior completely. Here is another hook. You do not experience life exactly as it is. You experience life as you believe it is. Beliefs quietly shape your daily habits, your conversations, and your expectations. Money responds to consistency, and consistency responds to discipline. But discipline responds to mindset. When you see growth as valuable, you invest time in preparation. When you see effort as pointless, you avoid practice. Over time, these small decisions accumulate. One person studies and improves gradually, while another postpones action repeatedly. Years later, the difference appears dramatic, yet it began with a single thought about what was possible. Mindset also influences how you respond to setbacks. Without constructive thinking, difficulty appears as failure. With constructive thinking, difficulty appears as feedback. The same event can discourage one individual and educate another. Here is a hook worth remembering: obstacles rarely stop progress. Interpretation stops progress. When you believe challenges are temporary, you continue adjusting until you succeed. When you believe challenges define you, you stop trying. Financial growth requires long-term thinking. A short-term perspective prioritizes immediate comfort over lasting improvement. A long-term perspective sacrifices small conveniences for larger gains. This difference originates in mindset. When you value development, you choose learning over distraction and preparation over delay. Each disciplined decision strengthens confidence because progress becomes visible. Another effect of mindset appears in communication. Individuals who think constructively speak differently. They ask questions, seek understanding, and collaborate effectively. People trust those who communicate clearly and positively. Trust leads to responsibility, and responsibility often leads to increased compensation. The financial outcome begins not with negotiation, but with perception and attitude. Here is a final hook to reflect on. Your circumstances do not permanently define your future, but your patterns of thinking can. When you begin changing your perspective, you begin changing your behavior. When behavior changes, results follow. Your bank account eventually reflects repeated decisions, and repeated decisions originate from repeated thoughts. Improvement in thinking encourages improvement in learning, relationships, and performance, and these improvements gradually influence financial stability and opportunity. There is a moment that quietly shapes the direction of a person's life, and it is rarely dramatic. It is not a perfect opportunity, not an ideal situation, and not a day when everything feels ready. It is simply the decision to begin. Many people postpone progress because they are waiting for the right time, the right resources, or the right confidence. Here is a hook to consider. Waiting does not prepare you, starting prepares you. Perfection is often used as a justification for delay. Individuals believe they must first eliminate uncertainty before taking action. Yet growth does not occur before movement. Growth occurs because of movement. Skills are not developed through intention, but through practice. Knowledge becomes useful only when applied. Every day of hesitation quietly extends the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Another hook to reflect on is this: clarity comes from action, not from thinking alone. You cannot fully understand a path until you begin walking it. Many people spend years analyzing possibilities instead of experiencing progress. They gather information, but never implement it. As a result, they remain informed but unchanged. The person who starts imperfectly often advances further than the person who plans perfectly. Starting also reshapes confidence. Confidence is not a requirement for action, it is a result of action. Each small effort strengthens belief because it provides evidence of capability. When you attempt something new, you gain feedback. Feedback improves skill, and improved skill strengthens certainty. The process is gradual yet powerful. One small step creates momentum, and momentum encourages consistency. Time plays a crucial role in development. Improvement compounds slowly at first, then visibly later. A few minutes of daily learning may appear insignificant, but repetition accumulates. Here is a hook worth remembering: small actions repeated consistently outperform large intentions repeated occasionally. The person who practices regularly becomes prepared when opportunity appears, while the person who delays remains unready even when chance arrives. Beginning immediately also changes how you perceive obstacles. When you postpone action, challenges seem intimidating because they are unfamiliar. When you engage, challenges become manageable because they become understood. Experience reduces fear. The unknown often appears larger than it truly is. Action replaces assumption with knowledge and replaces doubt with understanding. Another important effect of starting now is the development of discipline. Discipline forms through repeated behavior, not sudden motivation. Waiting for motivation is unreliable because feelings change frequently. Commitment creates stability. When you decide to act regardless of mood, you strengthen self-control. Over time, disciplined habits reduce resistance and make productive behavior natural. Here is a final hook to carry with you. Opportunity favors movement. People who consistently act become visible, and visibility leads to connection. Connection leads to collaboration, and collaboration leads to growth. The individual who begins learning, practicing, and improving today gradually builds competence that others recognize. Progress does not require dramatic change at first. It requires consistent participation. Each effort, no matter how small, builds familiarity, and familiarity builds mastery. By choosing action in the present moment, you begin shaping the skills, confidence, and readiness that influence future possibilities and professional advancement. I want to close with this: your future is not waiting on the economy, your boss, your government, or your family. Your future is waiting on you. The day you decide to invest in yourself is the day your life begins to change. You don't have to be perfect to start, but you must start to become successful. Begin investing in yourself today, because the greatest project you will ever work on is you. Thank you.